Hey everyone, all right, so this is day one of the wife's shop build. My name is Troy. Some of you may have seen me on my other channel, TNT Moto. It's where I restore dirt bikes, refresh dirt bikes, rebuild dirt bikes. This channel is going to be a little bit different. It's projects that the wife and I do together and some other side projects that I do by myself and she does on her own. A little history about the shop that I'm about to build here for my wife. We've got a cement pad back here. I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so here's the 16 by 16 slab that we'll be building my wife's shop on. Unfortunately, I do not have any engineering drawings for it. The slab was here when we bought the house and we were not provided with any information. So I had one of two choices here. I could get the slab engineered as is, and then that would enable me to get the permit to build. But the cost of getting an engineer in here to do that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $500. And then who knows whether or not he would decide that he could stamp it and approve it. All right, so the second option is that I can mount these 4x6 pressure treated sills to the concrete with 5/8 anchors and then bypass having the slab engineered altogether. The slab is 4 inches thick. It is a floating slab. It definitely does have the support required to be able to just mount 4 walls on it. I'm only going with a single height building here with a 16-foot span. No point load anywhere in the building whatsoever. So the inside of the building will be completely open. The only thing that I will have mounted is some cupboards and maybe a few shelves and some benches around the exteriors of the walls. Okay, so let's get started with drilling some holes in this concrete and anchoring those 4x6 sills. So now by code, I have to have an anchor every 2.4 meters for this, and basically that's like 7 feet, but I'm going to go every 4 feet since I've got the anchors and I want this to be solid and not have any worries later on down the road. But what I need to make sure that I do is I don't have one of the anchors coming up where there's going to be a stud for the wall. So the studs are going to be on 16-inch centers. So let's just see where the studs would be here. Now I'm putting 5/8 Den's glass on the outside, so I'm going to have to account for that. So let's just take the tape and move it over 5/8 of an inch to the edge of where the wall is going to be, which is going to be right about there. So my first anchor, I've also got to be concerned about the other boards in the wall. You're going to have a plate right here to fasten your other wall to. Then you're going to have one back there, right? So I'm going to want to start it somewhere probably at about 7, right smack in the middle here. Okay, so now we're going to measure up 15 foot 10, which is what the actual exterior framing of these walls is going to be. And we're going to go back 7 inches from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we have 177 inches basically. And what I'm basically going to do now is just divide that by 3, and that will give me the positions of my other 2 anchors in between these 2 points. Want to make sure this is nice and straight. Now we will move that 4x6 out of the way, and hopefully my marks are clearly identified by the bit coming in contact with the concrete. And there we go. You can see where the hole was. And then let's have a look over here where our other one should be. And there it is, right there. And then we'll come down here and can clearly see where that one is. All right, so I've got my 1/4 inch masonry bit bottomed all the way out in my chuck of my hammer drill. And I've got my indicator rod, stopper rod for my masonry bit set up for 2 1/2 inches, which is the minimum embedment depth for a 5/8 anchor, which I'll be using for these sills. And we are ready to drill our first pilot hole for our 5/8 anchor. Alright, we got the first pilot hole done. That was very easy. This bit works fantastic. So let's move on to the next one. Let's see how well this big bit goes. Now this is a 5/8 anchor bolt, wedge anchor, and the idea is that when you hammer this into the hole, this section here grips the edge of the concrete, and then as you tighten the nut up on the threaded part, it pulls up on the anchor and spreads these jaws apart, locking the anchor into the concrete and holding the wall down. So let's just have a look here, and that looks pretty good. Guys, I think my drill might be dying right now. Oh yeah, it's definitely dying. Hopefully I get through the holes that I need to get through. Well, all the holes are drilled. I'm going to start up the compressor now, and we're just going to blow all the dust out of these holes. You don't want any of the dust still remaining down inside those holes. So to do this, we just take the nut that we're going to be using, screw it onto about there. That way you're not damaging this part. You can hit this part, it can mushroom over a little bit and still get the nut off. I am going to need to be able to remove the nut, but we're just going to screw it on so that we're just barely hitting the top of that. You'll hear a thud when you hit the bottom. Hopefully you can hear that on the camera. It has a lot different sound when you're hammering it in. There's a higher pitch sound when you're hammering it down into the concrete, and then you get a deadening sound when it hits the bottom. Now we can still remove our nut and be able to get our bottom sill onto our anchor bolt. Alright, so I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do this because I'm building walls on top of the sills. This basically representing a wall. I'm going to have my anchor nut and bolt in the way. So I have two options here. I can leave the height of the anchor bolt and nut higher than the 4x6 and notch out the frame of the wall, or I can countersink the 4x6 and then buzz off the top of the anchor bolt once it's tightened down so that my wall can fit right over top of the anchor holes. I think what we're going to do is we're going to countersink that hole. And that's going to do it right there. Okay, so the next step is going to be laying down our sill seal. And this is pretty easy. Just get it unstuck from where the roll starts. Now we're going to start down at this end. And we're simply going to let it overhang my foundation slightly. It's about there. Get it so that I'm lined up with the edge. Create a hole. Okay guys, so the first pressure treated sill is now down on the anchor bolts, and something that I learned from this is that drilling your holes through a 4x6 sill like this, getting an indicator of where your anchor bolts are going to go, and then drilling into an unknown concrete surface that could have metal and or rocks or whatever else in it that could cause your angle of the anchor hole to be slightly off, can make it difficult for you to be able to get this sill on. So what I'm going to do with the next sills is I'm actually going to go out and buy another bit. So the current bit that I have is this one right here, 5/8 6-inch bit. I am going to go out and buy a 5/8 by 10-inch bit. Yeah, 10. Definitely I want to leave the 4x6 where it sits and drill the hole through the wood and then into the concrete, blow it out, and then hammer the anchor right through the wood rather than putting the anchor into the concrete separate and trying to fit this sill over top. It was a bit of a challenge to get it to line up. All right, so I went out and bought a deep 24mm socket because I did not have one. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to buzz these anchor bolts off level with the sill. I may actually have to buzz a little bit more off after, as when I tighten up this nut, it's going to draw the anchor bolt up inside until it grips to the concrete. Now we'll go along and do the same thing to the others, then we'll come back and we'll just zip the rest of that bolt off. All right, well, that is all of the anchor nuts tightened down on the anchor bolts. It is secured in place. It's got to be at least 140 plus pounds of torque I put on those nuts, so those sills are not going anywhere. All right, so we've got the 3 4x6 sills anchored down to the concrete now. I'm not going to put the fourth one on. Originally I was going to anchor the fourth one down, and then that way I would basically have what is almost like my outer foundation of my building all anchored to my slab. But then when I'm building my walls, I really wouldn't have enough room inside this squared off area to be able to build them flat on the concrete. So I'm going to put the third one in, or pardon me, the fourth one in after I'm done constructing and erecting the 3 outer walls.